Hey guys, today I want to take a look at the first ever polls released for the 2022 Senate races. I think that they really do highlight some of the weaknesses and strengths of the Democratic Party as they attempt to hold on to the Senate in the 2022 midterms, where they control 50 seats and the vice presidency, which currently gives them control of the U.S. Senate. So basically, this is the Senate map right here, and all the seats in blue are seats that the Democratic Party must defend in 2022, and all the seats in red seats that the Republicans currently hold but must defend. So I'm going to highlight first the states that are going to be harder for these parties to defend. So starting off with the Democratic Party, they will have some more trouble in Nevada and Arizona. They are currently held by Democrats who won by okay margins, but they're definitely not as strong as they would want them to be, and definitely some good candidates could still do very well in these two states. The state of Georgia, which was the state that Jon Ossoff won in the runoff on January 5th, and I think that this state definitely will be a highly watched one, as well as New Hampshire, which I think is pretty interesting, and I'll take a look at that in just a few moments. I think that New Hampshire will definitely have one of the interesting races in the 2022 midterms. As for the Republicans, Wisconsin definitely a state that will worry them, as well as Pennsylvania and North Carolina. These three states, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, first off, won by Joe Biden. New Hampshire lost by Joe Biden by 1%. And we had Cal Cunningham, who was expected to win this race, who I think really would have won this race if he did not get into that sexting scandal. So these three races are very, very vulnerable for the GOP, as well as Florida. Florida's always just not going to be solid for the Republican Party. It's always going to be a state that does tilt towards them, but it's still, at the end of the day, a toss-up state. So I think that Iowa, Ohio, I think they're pretty much safe for the GOP at this point. So really 4 seats that are not that solid for the Democrats and 4 for the Republicans. So before we take a look at the first polls ever, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not, the link to which is at the very top of the description below. We also do have channel memberships for just 99 cents a month, so make sure to click on that blue join button if you're interested. So we have some polls from the 2 highly contested Democratic states of New Hampshire and Georgia. So it's taking a look at the latest polls, or the first polls really, in New Hampshire. Some background here. Basically, the incumbent senator in New Hampshire that is defending their seat is Maggie Hassan. So Maggie Hassan won her first election in the Senate in 2016. She was the former governor of the state from, I believe, 2011 to 2015. So she decided to stop running for governor to run and join the U.S. Senate. She ran against Republican incumbent Kelly Ayotte, who really may be eyeing a re-election here, trying to take back her seat that she lost about 5 years ago. And then you also have the governor of the state of New Hampshire, the current governor, Kristen Sununu, who is a very, very popular governor of the state. So Kristen Sununu, of course, won re-election in 2020 with 65.1% of the vote, won almost every single municipality here against Dan Felt. So Kristen Sununu, a really, really strong governor, and someone that the traditionally Democratic state of New Hampshire really does like, considering that he is a Republican. So taking a look at the latest polls here, what you see is that when you have Maggie Hassan, the incumbent Democrat, running against the former senator, a Republican, Kelly Ayotte, Maggie Hassan is leading by 5 points, but then you put Hassan against Kristen Sununu, the governor, the Republican governor that is really very popular in the state, and Kristen Sununu leads by 2 points. So this is really definitely worrying for Hassan. If Kristen Sununu wants to run for Senate, he really can do very, very well. He is someone that is very well known in New Hampshire and someone that's very popular in New Hampshire. So really, I think that Kristen Sununu is definitely the candidate that the Republicans want running. Remember, in 2020, you had Jeanne Shaheen, who ran against really no strong Republican opposition. There was really no strong Republican that wanted to run against Jeanne Shaheen, which is why she won by over 15%. If you look at the presidential level, Joe Biden only won New Hampshire by 7.4%. So Jeanne Shaheen is, the more popular senator in New Hampshire, and she won but over double the margin that Joe Biden had, because there was just really no strong Republican running against her. So this is definitely worrying for Maggie Hassan. She has to defend this seat. I think that New Hampshire is one of the easier states for the Democrats to pull off here. I think the hardest are definitely going to be Arizona and Georgia, in my opinion. You have Mark Kelly and Raphael Warnock, who are both strong candidates, but the Republicans could, definitely nominate some pretty strong candidates to those seats there as well. And I do also want to take a look at, the job approval of Joe Biden. I think that will definitely have a big effect on the midterms because, if the president's popular, his party will probably do a little bit better than if Joe Biden was unpopular. Right now, his approval is at a net 10.8%, which is not too bad. It's better than every other major leader in the country right now, better than Trump, McConnell, McCarthy, Kamala Harris, any of them. So really, the approval is all right. His approval really hasn't changed that much. It's gone down about 2%, but it's really his disapproval from those voters that didn't want to say that they disapprove of him at first. So he's still at over 50%. And I think he'll have a sort of Obama-like approval where it gets pretty bad, but it's still much, much better than, say Donald Trump. So that's Biden's job approval. But I think that what's most surprising is approval on the economy, which was really the thing that the American people thought that Joe Biden was going to be the weakest on. He has a net 9.6% approval on the economy. And then his strongest point here, the job approval on the coronavirus, is at a plus 26.5% net approval for the president of the United States, 60.7%. So 6 in 7 Americans approve of how Joe Biden has dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic. So that I think really is going to help. I think that it really will be different. Democrats came out in droves this year to elect Joe Biden. And I really do think that if Joe Biden can get the COVID-19 pandemic pretty much under control by 2022, the midterms, which is really very possible because just the COVID-19 pandemic has really affected people's lives, such a great degree. I really do think that if he can get this under control, the 2022 midterms will be very, very good for the Democratic Party because, clearly there are many, many independents and even many Republicans that currently do approve of Joe Biden's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. So really it's only that 30% that really don't. But I think that, almost everyone can agree, most people can agree that Joe Biden is doing much better on COVID-19 than what the Republicans and Donald Trump has done over the last couple of months here. So that is definitely going to help Joe Biden. And also, if you look at the direction of the country, really it's at a pretty high point right here. It was very low after COVID-19, especially lower when it got worse in the summer. And then it got, to its lowest point in a very, very long time after the election, after Donald Trump refused to concede. And then after the insurrection at the Capitol, of course. So, shot straight up after Joe Biden was elected, it's now at a pretty okay 40%, which is higher than most of Trump's term and higher than most of Obama's term here as well. So I think that's definitely something good for the Democrats if they can keep this number up for the next couple of years. So those were the first polls I didn't want to take a look at. So you had Kelly Ayotte versus Maggie Hassan. You get some governor polls here. Whitmer versus Miller. Whitmer, the incumbent Democrat, winning by 1%. She's not that popular in Michigan, but I think that she'll still probably win, to be honest. But Ron DeSantis, I think, is a shoo-in at this point. Unless something happens, Ron DeSantis is going to win re-election in 2022, which would really set him up for his 2024 presidential run, which he probably is going to go on, let's be honest here. Another poll, Chris Sununu versus Maggie Hassan. Sununu leads by 6 points. So really, Chris Sununu is the person that Maggie Hassan really needs to worry about at this point in the race. And then I want to come up here to the very top here. These are some pretty interesting polls. These are the Georgia Senate polls. So basically, you have a couple of main people here. You have, of course, Raphael Warnock, the incumbent senator who won the runoff election. So Warnock, the first Democrat here in a very, very long time in the Senate representing the state of Georgia. And then along with Warnock, you had Herschel Walker, who is a football player. Not too much of a political background. He is leading right now, but really, I think that once he gets into the race, he'll be less popular as people get to know him better. And he's someone that Donald Trump really wanted to run because he, I think, is the strongest candidate right now. But once, people learn more about him, I think that really could break that popularity that he currently has, so that you have Herschel Walker, the only Republican that's leading against Raphael Warnock right now, leading by just 2 points. And remember, this is a Trafalgar poll. So Trafalgar always benefits Trump, always benefits the Republicans, never ever benefits the Democratic Party, which is why this is, not that surprising that Walker is leading and Warnock is only leading by one against Doug Collins. So really, I would expect these margins to be, 4 or 5 points higher than what they really are for Raphael Warnock. Doug Collins here as well is currently losing against Raphael Warnock, and he, of course, was the other Republican that was running alongside Kelly Loeffler. He was the one that split the vote so that there would be a runoff, and he won 19.95%, 20% of the vote. Kelly Loeffler only won 26%. So Kelly Loeffler, the incumbent Republican, only defeated Doug Collins, another Republican, by 6 points. So I think that this really does mean that Kelly Loeffler was not going to win in a primary. If she was just a regular candidate running against a regular candidate here, Doug Collins was going to win because Kelly Loeffler is not even from the state, and it was really the incumbency factor that won her that spot in the runoff, where of course she did eventually lose to Raphael Warnock. And then taking a look at the race between Loeffler and Collins, so this is not Loeffler and Collins, but Loeffler and Warnock. This is the most interesting. Warnock leads by 5 points. So the former senator from Georgia is currently performing the worst out of everyone. Everybody beats Kelly Loeffler. If you look at the Senate primary, if you had Loeffler, Walker, and Collins running, so Loeffler has shown interest in running, so I think that she is currently the candidate with the highest chance of running. But Kelly Loeffler, 24%. 33 for Walker and Collins. And then if you compare Walker versus Collins, Walker beats Collins right now, which of course I think that will go down as more people get to know him. And then the Georgia Republican Senate primary with Walker and Loeffler. Walker destroys Loeffler by 36 points. Collins versus Loeffler. Collins beats Loeffler too by 20 points. So Kelly Loeffler, I think, is going to lose. If Kelly Loeffler was nominated, that would be a dream for Raphael Warnock to run against Kelly Loeffler once again. And the polls here in Georgia, they are pretty accurate. If you look at the margin between Warnock and Loeffler, it was basically 2%. And the actual polling, 2.1%. Really, it was 2.08%. 51.04, 48.96, that's 2.08. So this number is the closest it could have been between Jon Ossoff and David Perdue. It's pretty much the same. It was around a 1.5, I want to say 1.5% margin, I think. So really the polls in Georgia were very, very accurate, just like they were on the presidential level and just like they were on the runoffs as well. So really the polls in Georgia, they really are very, very good. And I think that with Trafalgar doing this, it will definitely still benefit the Republicans a little bit. If you look at the Trafalgar polls here, Ossoff +5, Warnock +5. So that was, that was a little bit of a blip there, but here you have it. So Trafalgar, Perdue +1, Loeffler +2, which was one of the worst ones there. So they do, sometimes get it closer, but they do typically do it really poorly. They had Ossoff winning, but Loeffler winning, which really didn't make any sense. So yeah, so they're not that great of a pollster. They do typically always benefit Trump, but this time they were not that horrible at it. But I think that these polls are definitely worrying for Kelly Loeffler if she wants to run for another term in the Senate. While Warnock, I think, is pretty comfortable right now with Scott Walker, probably going to do a lot worse if he jumps into the race. So right now, I think that Georgia is much safer for the Democrats than New Hampshire. I think that Kristen Sununu has a very, very high chance at running, and I think he really could flip that seat. But right now, he has not announced a run, and I think that against anyone else, Mackie Hassan is probably going to win. It is really just Governor Kristen Sununu that is going to worry her a lot in this race. So that's it for today. There's only been polls out of 2 states, but we'll get some polls out of Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, as well as New Hampshire, these open seats here and just in a couple of weeks here, and I'll go over those once they come out. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like this video down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below your predictions for the 2022 Senate races and what Kristen Sununu's polling numbers as well as Herschel Walker's polling numbers mean in New Hampshire and Georgia. Subscribe to my channel if you have not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.